Good morning, my friends, and welcome to this episode of Heal Your Codependency. Today, we're going to be jumping in to a topic about how our sense of worth is producing the pain and chaos we experience in our life by creating a false sense of identity. So, kind of a complex topic. So we're going to jump into that today. So now you can understand what's going on there. We can make some changes in your world. Before we do that, I'm going to get this shared out to my communities, two communities. If you're interested in deepening that self-worth and really discovering and anchoring to or embodying and expressing your indomitable worth, come join us in the Indomitable Worth community. Link is above on Facebook, below on YouTube. And if you're looking for more guidance and tools and support in healing your codependency so you can create lasting safety in your world, lasting connection that's fulfilling and healthy, and a healthy sense of self-worth, join us in the Heal Your Codependency community. Link is above on Facebook, below on YouTube as well. So come join us there, and I'm going to get them shared out real quick. So let me know in the comments how you've been doing, how your holiday was, what was going on for you. Hi, Jill. Good to see you. Let's see. Let's get this shared out here real quick. One day I'll get this down faster. Boom, got that there. What's really fun about innate value and this indomitable worth, they're the same thing, they're the same concept, is what kind of power it brings into our life to be free of like shame and guilt and being stuck in this loop of trying to please people and avoid problems. So let's jump into this here. All right. So your sense of worth determines the outcomes you live with. Another way to put this is your sense of worth is creating the misery you might have in your world. I know that can be blunt. You're like, wow, you're just going for it, Marshall. Yes, I am. Because this is one of those fulcrum components. It's like the nexus that we're dealing with. It's where the thing occurs. It's a genesis moment. So what's going on here? So my experience of self-worth is that it inspires a sense of a particular kind of identity. So let's say my sense of self-worth is a sense of shame and unworthiness. I don't deserve certain things, and I do deserve other certain things, and that's dictated by this sense of shame and worthlessness. What that does, that sense of worth right there becomes the puppeteer of my choices and actions. It's dictating what I'm going to do. So if we look at this from a puppeteer and we got a puppet, right? The puppet is the one out there doing the things in the world. So it'd be the actions and choices I'm taking right now in my life. That's what other people would see. That's what I would be looking at in my behavior. But behind the scenes is the puppeteer moving the puppet to do those things. Your sense of self-worth is the puppeteer. Your choices and actions are the puppet. Let me know if this makes sense. I hope it does. This is how one's sense of worth determines the outcomes we live with, because it inspires the actions and choices we take. That means it also limits the choices and actions we take. It says, no, we can't have that, so we're not going to do this. Or if we do that, it's going to produce this kind of outcome, and that kind of outcome means we're not worthy. We're unworthy. We're shameful. We're not deserving. See where I'm going at here? The sense of worth that we carry with ourselves is where everything else becomes determined. Hi, Deborah. So this is essential for us to grasp and understand so that we can start opening up to a different possibility for ourselves. So in the Indomitable Worth method, we have to start with the acknowledgement that your current sense of worth, my current sense of worth, is a product of the lived experience we've been through, and it is not a product of who we are. When we start differentiating our identity from our experiences, we gain the capacity to discover a different reality for ourselves. I call this possibility. So the possibility here is that I am not defined by my experiences. So my current sense of self-worth is defined by my experiences because that's the only orientation I had to myself. So who do I become without that? And that inspires this question I ask my students frequently. Who am I without X factor? Who am I without my shame? Who am I without my guilt? Who am I without my codependency? Who am I with real worth? Who would I be if I had indomitable worth, innate value that was unchangeable? Now we start getting into the world of possibility and discovery, and we can start seeing how we act differently, we think differently, we choose differently, and that gets us different outcomes. And this is why I say your sense of worth is creating your misery. Because if my sense of worth is low, it's shame-oriented, it's guilt-oriented, it's oriented around inadequacy, then I'm going to make choices and actions that result in sequencing or outcomes that produce a sense of inadequacy or misery. It's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy there. So let me know if that makes sense below. So how we approach this, how do we get out of the trap of this low self-esteem and fueling the choices and actions we make that create results that seem to confirm that we deserve to be shameful or inadequate or that we're unworthy, right? How do we get out of this loop? Well, the key factor here, what most people tend to do, is they go towards the conclusion we've created. So what's really going on in the background is this equation. So in the Indomitable Worth Experience training happening here in 2 weeks, I'm going to outline the equation, we're going to decode it, and we're going then to change this equation, or change the variables in it. So the equation is a stimulus occurs, meaning an event outside of myself has happened. Something occurred. And then internally, I have a reaction to that event. And that reaction is comprised of an emotion and a meaning. Okay, so meaning means I've created some sort of significance or story around the event. The event happened because I am. The event is occurring because of something about me, right? And this meaning produces an emotion. And that, when you combine them together, creates a reaction or response to the stimulus. So let me know if that makes sense. So we've got stimulus, we've got reaction that's comprised of an emotion and a meaning. And that creates outcomes. And then we look at the outcome, we're like, yep, there's the proof. I'm not worthy. I'm not lovable because the choices and actions I did created the outcome I got, right? This is how we tether and blend our sense of worth with outcomes we have, with circumstances we're experiencing, with the feelings we have, with the feelings other people have, with the judgments they have, with approval, with rejection, with success, with failure. It's because the meaning creates the significance around it that then we're like, yep, this means I'm this, right? Because we've equated our identity and our value to that meaning and to that emotion that shows up. Okay, so it's making sense to Deborah. Excellent. Thank you guys, because this is kind of complex. So in most people, what we do here is we try to change the outcome. We try to change the product. Well, let's change the skills we're using to get a different outcome, and then we can feel better about ourselves. There's a trap there, right? One, that's not always consistent. Two, sometimes we can have the best skills in the world and still get an outcome that doesn't work because there's other variables involved. So our sense of worth is still entangled, tethered to the outcome. It's tethered to the stimulus that we're experiencing and to the results we create from that, internally and externally. So what's the trick here? When I was stuck in this loop going, I'm trying to be a better person. I'm trying to love myself more. I'm trying to be worthy. I'm trying to believe in myself, trying to have more confidence. I'm faking it till I make it. That's how that shows up. That's the manifestation of it. When I am trying to do that, I was exhausted. And I never succeeded. I got moments where it's like, oh, I think I've made it. And then, I'd fail, or someone would reject me, or an outcome would not work out. A situation would happen that was scary, or just impacted my sense of self-worth. And that'd all implode. So being stuck in this loop, I was like, there's something else going on here. So what I did is, rather than trying to control the outcome, like people pleasing, being perfect, become a know-it-all, trying to do everything right, all that, I went to the meaning in the equation. I'm going, I am making something significant about this stimulus that creates this reaction in me that produces more of this result I'm dealing with. This conclusion that I am unworthy or something. So if I went to the meaning, what would happen there? So I started playing with the meaning. Well, what if it wasn't so significant? I started to notice that the emotion I had in response to the stimulus that inspired my choices and actions down the road that created more misery changed. Less shame, more curiosity, more peace, more courage, indifference. And that led to different choices and actions that started creating different outcomes for me. Outcomes that I liked. Outcomes that supported and nurtured me. Outcomes that helped me see and understand that I have real power in my life. And that all started to come in when we started neutralizing the meaning and then legitimizing the pain we carried inside that meaning. Because way back in time, we experienced a stimulus that hurt us. And we took that hurt and we internalized it as, this is what I'm worth. That became the meaning. And then we started acting out from that, making choices and actions and responses to life from that emotional meaning conclusion. So when I went in there and started caring for the pain I'd gone through, the neglect I'd experienced, the harm I'd experienced, allowing my pain to be legitimate and real and important to myself. That meaning started to dissolve. And then I gained more clarity and more alignment in my behavior, because I also started to notice that, hey, without this shame, without this guilt, without this sense of unworthiness dominating my world, there was something else emerging. It was this centeredness that was still and clear and powerful. That didn't change according to the outcomes I was getting. It was there consistently. I didn't know what it was at the time, but it felt good. And I started to get to know it. I started to trust it a little bit, to see what I would do further in my life. And it led me to understanding my choices and my actions, and even before that, understanding my desires. Do I really want what I think I want here? Because am I trying to compensate for a sense of worth, or is this a genuine expression that I want to bring into the world? So I slowed my world down and started to actually experience my life from a place of intrinsic worth that allowed me to evaluate situations, people, places, and things from a lens that said, I'm whole and I'm okay despite what's out here. And now I can understand what's out here and see where it fits and doesn't in my world. I can see where my desires fit or they don't, where they're coming from, and then make a better choice, a better action to create better results for me. And that led me to dramatically changing the way I run business. It led me to a healthy relationship I'm in. It changed the way I relate to my children. I'm more curious and available to them because I'm not compensating for all this shame and fear in my world anymore. I'm more available to learn and grow and to take the risks necessary to get what I want in my world. This is the power of changing our sense of worth and orienting it to our true worth. First, we got to discover it. We got to enter possibility and then discover. And we do that in the Indomitable Worth Experience training happening here in 2 weeks. But then after that, when we start to experience it, we got to liberate it. We got to liberate it from this equation, from that pain, from that meaning. And then we got to learn how to embody it and express it. So that's how we move into being our true worth. And then our lives start to reflect that instead, because our choices and actions are being guided by that, rather than the shame, the inadequacy, the fear, the insecurity we've carried for so long, as we've assumed for so long that's a part of who we are. So let me know your thoughts on this below, guys, because this is deep work. It's a deep concept. It's one that I was writing out on my tablet last night as an equation, just playing with it, because this is, for me, this is the cutting edge of my work. This is where we're expanding into, and I'm excited to see what it does for you in your world, because I've seen it with the students I've guided through this process. They have discovered deeply that they are free of that shame. They don't need it anymore. They don't need the inadequacy. They have this inborn sense of value that's anchored in them that they can rely on and then guide themselves with. And that's a process. This will take time. But we start that with the Indomitable Worth Experience training. That starts November 14th, and we do, it's 2 days, so November 14th and November 16th. Because day one, we talk about we would talk about this equation, how it got created, and then how we neutralize it. And then we do our first possibility experiment. You're going to run that for a day. And then on the second day of the workshop, you're going to enter Indomitable Worth and discovery of it, despite what's going on, so you can actually feel it. Because, all the words in the world, all the books, all the courses, all the slides, none of that's going to bring it to you. You've got to experience this to really know it, to really begin to believe it. And that's my objective in the workshop. So the link is above on Facebook, below on YouTube. Come join us. We've got 25 people already enrolled. $25 this round. That will go up as we get more success and get this refined, because this is the first time we're doing it. So, hey, we're going to have some fun. So come join us and discover for yourself your indomitable worth. Jill says, looking into business for myself because I deserve the opportunity to be successful and not self-sabotage. Yes, you deserve not just the opportunity, you deserve the success. You deserve the fulfillment. You deserve the actual experience of that. And when your sense of worth isn't tied up in the business, in the success of it, in the failure of it, it allows you to become very objective about what you need and want to do with your business, and then take the actions towards it. Because now you're not braced in all this panic and concern about what people think, or what rejection will happen, or shame or anxiety will be there. It's more like, okay, I'm anchored in me, and now I can look at this situation objectively and take the actions without all that negative emotional charge. Instead, you got peace. You got indifference. You got curiosity or even playfulness in it, where things become more alive and more engaging for you. And that's the same thing with work. It's the same thing with healing. It's the same thing with relationships. When we are anchored to our indomitable worth, we don't have to carry all this stuff anymore. We can begin to become free of it. And that's what I want to help you start experiencing in your world with the Indomitable Worth Experience training, and then into the Indomitable Worth method. Because this takes time. It's not an instant thing, but it is something that can work quickly in your world to help you, hey, I can experience this, and then we can embody it while caring for the pain and the experiences you've been through that have currently defined your sense of worth. So that's what we'll be doing that. Yeah, you're welcome, Jill. Okay, my friends, thank you for being here. Thank you for your time today. I look forward to seeing you in the workshop and in our next training. Go gently with yourselves and take from today this question: who would I be without my current sense of worth? Or who would I be if I had indomitable worth? Worth that was infinite, eternal, and part of who I am. Let's see what you discover. So go gently, and I'll see you in our next training. Bye-bye, guys.